the Cartographer and the Void's Curse. The seas teem with secrets and monsters. Yet, the most dangerous legends warn you about an empty sheet of paper. In an era when the oceans held more mysteries than all the books in the world, one name inspired both dread and awe: Captain Elias. Elias was no pirate seeking mere gold. He was a hunter of myths, a brilliant cartographer. He saw power in ink and parchment that kings never saw in their treasuries. On that night, Elias's goal was worth more than all the world's treasures: the map of the void. The map was locked within the Citadel of Archives, a fortress built to guard the secrets of the ancient world. Elias slipped past the guards like a phantom. After an epic chase through the castle towers, Elias leaped from the top of the gigantic clock tower. He plunged into the darkness to splash down in the harbor, where his ship, the Astra Pontus, awaited him. Aboard the ship, there was no time for rest. Elias unrolled the empty scroll. His eyes gleaming with obsession and anticipation, he dipped his quill in ink. He drew a single symbol at the heart of the page, a compass pointing not north, but to the impossible. As soon as he lifted the quill, the drawing glowed. A thread of light emerged, shivering in the air, tracing a path that only he could see. Elias and his crew sailed for days, following the supernatural light. Suddenly, the sea darkened. From the depths rose a beast larger than any nightmare, the Leviathan of the abyss. With a single strike of its tail, the monster shattered the masts of Elias's ship and hurled his sailors into the furious water. Death was certain. In a moment of desperation, Elias shouted and grabbed the map. With trembling hands, he drew a mythical spear, Neptune's spear. The sky split open, and a gigantic spear of pure light descended, settling in Elias's hand. Elias threw the spear with all his might. The light spear pierced the heart of the giant monster. The Leviathan exploded in a burst of light and white vapor. After the devastating battle, the ship was wrecked. The magical compass pointed to a nearby island for them to rest. The island looked like paradise, with golden shores. But a strange wind blew, carrying with it shimmering golden dust. Elias remembered the ancient legends of the sands of greed. He screamed at the top of his lungs, "Close your eyes. Bury yourselves. Don't look at the gold." Some obeyed immediately, burying their faces in the sand. But the others, blinded by the shine of fortune, remained standing with open eyes, reaching out to touch the enchanting dust. Their joyous screams turned into cries of agony. In seconds, they froze in place. Their flesh fell from their bones like sand until nothing remained but white skeletons, standing in poses of eternal avarice. Having escaped the curse of greed, the ship entered a suspiciously calm area of the sea. This was the Sea of Illusions. The sailors began to hear faint whispers rising from the water. In their reflections, they saw the faces of their dead loved ones and unimaginable treasures. One by one, they started leaping from the ship, strange smiles on their faces, trying to grasp their illusions, only to be swallowed by the silent depths. Even Elias himself saw his reflection as a mighty king. But the scream of his first mate, about to jump, startled him. He realized this sea was killing them with their own wishes. Quickly, he opened the map. He drew a fierce, relentless wind, a storm that allowed no one to think or hear. The winds violently pushed the ship out of the Sea of Illusions. Just as the remaining crew caught their breath, a strange white cloud appeared on the horizon. It was a massive swarm of thousands of panicked gulls. And then, a gigantic shadow fell over them, covering the sun. Elias raised his head to see the legendary rock falcon, the size of a floating island. It swooped down, its talons open to crush the main mast. There was no time to draw a weapon. With the ingenuity of the desperate, Elias drew a glowing, man-sized jewel on the largest sail, naming it the Tear of the Sun. The gem appeared and emitted a dazzling light, brighter than the sun itself. The rock paused in midair, mesmerized by this new star. Elias seized the moment and drew a powerful tailwind, propelling his ship at a furious speed, leaving the mythical bird chasing an illusion of light and ink. He reached the islands of the Sirens. It was a false paradise. Elias managed to catch a siren, but the paradise turned into a trap. An army of siren warriors rose from the water, raining poisonous arrows onto his ship. Elias barely escaped, having lost more of his crew, gaining nothing but fear and a new understanding of his map's power. Here, Elias began to realize the horrifying truth. The map was not a tool of creation. It was a tool of substitution. It consumed a piece of reality to build a piece of illusion. Elias ignored the losses, he had become obsessed. He drew a magnificent castle on a remote island. In return, a fierce storm swallowed an island inhabited by innocent fishermen in the real world. As he and his remaining crew celebrated in their illusory palace, a massive shadow fell upon them. He had mistakenly left a thin line, a rope, by accident on his drawing of the island. This error had now materialized into a gigantic black serpent, the size of a river. The serpent lunged, swallowing sailors one by one. Elias stared in horror at the map, realizing he was fighting a beast born of his own carelessness. Amidst this chaos, a new threat emerged. A fleet of black, unmarked ships. They were the guardians of balance. They had not come to retrieve the map, they had come to destroy it, and Elias with it. Aboard the flagship stood an old man with a white beard and a sad gaze. It was Xenon, his former mentor. Xenon leaped alone onto the shore of Elias's illusory island. They stood face to face, swords drawn. Xenon spoke bitterly, "I taught you to read the stars, Elias, not to steal them from the sky." Elias retorted, "You taught me caution, old man. I chose greatness." They clashed in a fierce duel. Elias managed to disarm Xenon. He raised his sword for the final blow, but he paused. Xenon calmly stated, "I was once a pirate like you. But I found that protecting the world is greater than owning it. You abandoned your humanity to become your own jailer." Xenon returned to his ship and gave the command. The shelling began. The illusory castle began to crumble under their cannon fire. Amidst the chaos and flames, Elias spotted Leo, the son of his loyal first mate, trembling in fear. The boy looked up at Elias with innocent eyes and asked in a shaky voice, "Captain, is this the treasure you were looking for?" The question pierced Elias's heart like an ice spear. For the first time, he saw nothing but greed and selfishness in his world. He didn't see a castle, he saw a prison built from the destruction of others. He realized there was no point in owning the world if the price was a cry of fear in a child's eyes. He made his final decision. This was no longer an escape, it was atonement. He opened the cursed map. He began to draw an image of his ship sailing inside the map itself. Reality tore around him. He found himself sailing in a sea of liquid ink. But his ink world became a living nightmare. His castle towers turned into gigantic claws attacking him. From the Black Sea emerged creatures of his own morbid imagination. He was fighting his dreams turned into his worst nightmares. Elias realized the only way to end the curse was to destroy the map at its source. He fought his way to his ink castle, and in its heart, he found the point of origin, the first drop of ink that started everything. In a final battle against the guardians of his illusory world, he grasped the point of origin and tore the map from the inside. The ink world began to collapse and dissolve. In the real world, the guardians of balance saw the map burn and turn to ash. Elias had succeeded in restoring balance to the world. But the price was that he was forever imprisoned within the map's collapsing void, becoming a legend himself, the captain who got lost in his own map. Elias left behind no treasure or gold. He left a warning carved into the memory of the seas. The moral of the story: power is not authority over reality, it is responsibility toward it. The sands of greed and the sea of illusions proved that the lust for perfection is the true undoing. The map taught him that the greatest power lies not in creating an ideal world, but in accepting the responsibility for the one we live in, with all its flaws and glory. If you were in Captain Elias's place and possessed the map's power, would you have used it to achieve your greatest dreams even if the cost was the destruction of others, or would you have resisted the temptation? Share your opinions in the comments. We'd like to thank our dear followers for joining us on this journey. Don't forget to subscribe to The Alchemist's Tales to discover the secrets of our next story together.